Frankie, good news and bad news. Good news, one of your heroes has been linked to the West Ham United job. Well, it's not really a job, there's no vacancy yet, but he's been linked to West Ham anyway. The bad news is he's already been dismissed as a potential replacement for Graham Potter should the West Ham manager's job arise. However, Mourinho has been linked to West Ham. Were you excited when you seen the links?
No, Geo, no, I wasn't. It's just never going to be somebody that the board would ever hire. It's just a non-starter. Whoever says he's ever been linked has just thrown a story together. It's not. I very much doubt conversations will even get started because I just don't think the board would ever. I don't even think it'd be like a backup or reserve option. I just think they'd look at him and just say, he is not for us. So I don't think they'd ever even consider it. He could be the last person on earth, and he's got far too much character for that lot to handle. So yeah, that's I can't get excited about it. I'd love to, but it would just never happen.
Do you think you'd be scared of him?
Oh, absolutely. It's the same as they're scared by Di Canio. You know, Brady hates Di Canio. Don't want the club even remembering Paolo Di Canio because, you know, she said it'd never be here under my watch. And that's the reality of it. He's got too much character for them. Mourinho's got too much character for them. He's a personality. He's someone who has a voice. He's someone who's outspoken and has passion. That is like the polar opposite to what they ever want around them. So anyone who can challenge them, anyone who knows more than them, anyone who's got anything about them is never on that short list of managers. And Gio, people have been talking about the managerial situation and about, I think in your video yesterday, you might have said about after Moyes, it was excitement because it was like, you know, it's who's going to come in, blah, blah, blah. But ever since then, it's hard to get excited again. I've not been excited since Harry Redknapp. Like, I remember as a kid when Redknapp went. And if I'm honest, I remember the people around me, the adult influences like my dad, everyone was kind of ready for a change. And I remember it coming up on teletext. And we felt at that time West Ham would go on to bigger and better things. We've never made a right move ever since that day. We've never had the right manager. We've never had the ambitious manager. We've never had a manager who's inspired any of us. I don't really think, other than Bilic, I'm not even sure we've had a proper West Ham man in charge or whatever. So look, I struggle every single time we're in this managerial discussion phase because you just know that they're never going to bring anyone with any sort of oomph about them. So
yeah, I just want to pick up on one thing there. You said I was excited after. I was not excited. I was worried, but I thought the club was in a good place.
Yes,
I thought Moyes was leaving us in a good place. Foundations were built. Foundations were solid. I had 150 million to spend in the summer for the next guy, and if we got that appointment right, I do hide on heart believe, Frankie, we got that appointment right, we could have had a good, future.
But this is West Ham, isn't it? One step forward, two steps back all the time. Whenever we're in that position, ready to kick on, like similar to when we moved into the London Stadium, we was kind of in a position where you thought, right, we can go and kick on as a club now. Every time we get to that point and we think, right, we're going to the next step, we march so far backwards.
There's even many points as well, which is the January transfer windows. We've had them under Moyes, we had them under Slav, where we're in and around the Champions, not even European spots. We were in and around the Champions League spots at Christmas, going into the January transfer window, 4th, 5th, depending on which season you want to pick. And the January transfer window, bar the one with Jesse Lingard. Now, I appreciate Bowen and Souček came in during a January transfer window. However, we're in a relegation battle for that one. We were not 4th and we bought in Bowen and Souček. We were 17th or 18th and brought in Bowen and Souček. But the only time we've been in a European race and done well in the January transfer window was that Jesse Lingard signing. We went on to finish 6th in the league. But there was times where, you speak about there's an opportunity to kick on. I think there's been opportunities during the season that things are going well for us. January comes around, it's like brilliant. Getting one, maybe two good players that come in can make a difference. Maybe that'll just keep us where we are. That's all we had to do, just bring in players that could help us stay where we were. We didn't even need to move up the position, just maintain where we were. And the signings generally have been quite underwhelming in those windows and just lacking that ambition. And it just lacks belief. And I think this is where, speak of ambition, lack of ambition about the board. I think that's the biggest proof for me to some extent, actually, where I understand if come the summer they don't want to spend £150 million and try and get 6, because it's like, well, what evidence is there that that manager's going to go get 6, the one that we've got? There isn't any. But actually, when you're sitting 6th in January, well, there you go. That's the perfect time to go, right, we're going to be ambitious. We're going to spend some of this upcoming summer transfer budget. We're going to spend it now. We're going to go get that £20 million player, because maybe just releasing the funds 6 months early might be what it gets us into the European spot, and just take that little bit of risk. And I never thought they were willing to do that. And that's what always said to me, we're not that ambitious here at West Ham, because it almost felt like we can't get relegated. We're all right. We don't need to spend in this January transfer window. Thank you very much. In regards to Mourinho, though, hypothetically, Frankie, I like a hypothetical discussion on this channel. It's fun, as long as people don't take it too serious. But if Potter went today, where would Mourinho rank on your list of, like, is he at the very top, or is he somewhere in the middle? Or is he?
Number 1. He is.
You do love him, don't you?
I do, mate. I do. I just find his character brilliant. I think he's a personality. He's just do you know what as well, mate? He's just a serial winner. I just love people that are serial winners. Just, there's just a bit of spark about them that they've just got it. And he's always had it. And his record, it just speaks for itself. It was even like his recent interview with the Fenerbahçe one, when I think they might have been 1-0 down after the first leg in the qualifiers, and he just made his speech, and at the end of it he just said, "Welcome to hell." And it was just like, do you know what, he always taps into the psyche of those fans. He gets it. He always goes in and he proper understands what those fans want. And I just love that. I love his attitude. I love how he is. He believes that he's just going to win every single time he puts a team out on that football pitch. And I've never experienced that under a West Ham manager. I don't think I've ever had it. Again, going back, actually, Harry Redknapp was probably the last time that we certainly weren't serial winners. We rarely won, but we always had a belief wherever we went that we would turn someone over, and go into Old Trafford in the 3rd round of the Cup and rolling them up there. You always felt that on your day you could turn someone over. I've just not felt like that for a little while now.
I had under Slav for one season. Last season, Upton Park, I had it. We could be 2-0 down at half time, and I'd be like, that's all right, 0-3-2. Like, we'll still win, because I went into games believing we could score 3 goals. And to feel like that, to believe that, then you believe that you're going to win games if you think your team can score that much. In terms of Mourinho, just to play the game, I'm a fan of the man. He's very charismatic. He draws you in. He's certainly entertaining, and I love his attitude and his mentality. I just think he's chaotic, and I think he's almost guaranteed to leave your club in a mess. However, the way I look at it, West Ham, I'm like, we're in one anyway. So what we're trying to salvage by not bringing in a bit of a bulldozer of a manager?
It's actually the time you would bring him in, because he can't unsettle what you've already got. So if you had loads of stability and loads of foundations, and you had stuff that he could go in and maybe upset the apple cart, but we haven't. A bit of carnage might be exactly what we need just to have a bit of a run.
I think he'd maybe expose one or two of the, I'll be kind and say, timid characters that we've got in the squad, because there's clearly a lack of leadership and a lack of character in the West Ham team at the minute. 2 London derbies, and I know Souček got sent off, but it wasn't for aggression. It was for a bad first touch, essentially, and just a clumsy lunge after it. There was no, I'm fired up, it's the London derby, let's get stuck in. That was not there. That's not why he got sent off. But apart from that, Tottenham and Chelsea, there's no cards, there's no tackles, there's no fouls. Mohamed Kudus was showboating at one point. I was just like, well, someone just go through him for crying out loud. I can't stand it when players take the piss, especially in games like that. And I thought Kudus was taking the piss, albeit 3-0 up because of the other players in the team, and he decided, hey, I'm going to show off now. But yeah, I think a few players might buckle if Mourinho was to come in. So I think it would be chaos, and he wouldn't be at top of my list, but I'm close to like anyone but Graham Potter, if I'm honest with you. I'm just like, it doesn't really matter what we're protecting. There's nothing to protect. Like you said, there's no stability, there's no foundations, there's no good form. Even our best players like Bowen aren't in good form themselves. So it's like there's nothing really positive here to protect. So it would be fun, Frankie. I would say that it would be fun. Speaking of the Spurs game, what did you make of it?
Yeah, a tough watch. It was just unraveling in front of us, and there was nothing that he could offer to stop what happened from happening. And actually, like a lot of people have said, if they wanted to really go and put us to the sword, it could have been frightening. It could have been a real, it was embarrassing anyway, seeing how many people were left in the stadium at the end of a West Ham Tottenham match. But it could have been a lot worse. I think they could have walked through and gone and scored 4, 5, 6 and quite comfortably. But they didn't feel the need to, and they sort of went through the motions towards the end of the game. So just really frustrating. Half time goes in, you sort of go, yeah, okay. And I said to you in the preview that we did, or the comments that we'd made on the game before, and I sort of said, I see it being 0-0 at half time, but can he go and nick the win in the second half? And I, as a passionate West Ham fan, always believed that he would. So we had all the foundation to kick on in the second half and go and nick a win. But any confidence that I had that we can hold to a 0-0 at half time now and go and win in the second half is kind of all gone. Other than a few minutes of madness against Nottingham Forest, which, to be quite honest, they were in a mess and were all over the show. And they're not the Nottingham Forest of last season, not even close to it. So I still wanted to lean on that positivity, as you always do. There's no point in coming on here and going, "Oh, we won 3-0, but it's still rubbish." That's not the attitude that you have. Yes, we all try and stay realistic, I think, and I think we're quite good at that, and not getting, not letting them off the hook. But I just felt like if Graham Potter ever needed a helping hand on getting himself ready for that Tottenham game, he had it. He had the Nottingham Forest game. He had the international break. It was then going to Tottenham with a renewed confidence and belief. And the way that I think he set us up, we just had no threat whatsoever. We made it so easy for him. We didn't give him anything really to think about. Paqueta was constantly our highest player forward. And it just didn't work. And the problem with that man is, and we said it through pre-season, my biggest worry was that I never saw a plan B with him. He has already had to resort to a plan B and abandon that back five because we were shipping goals like you couldn't believe. But this plan B of his doesn't seem to be too much better. And we've had a couple of London derbies early on in the season, and we've shipped in 8 goals. I mean, it is so bad. I mean, you've got to, against teams, against your rivals at home as well, both of them at home, to ship in 8 goals is just, I just don't see how there's any way back. And I can't believe we're dithering around. It's not like it's just been the start of this season. It was the end of last season as well. Yeah. And there's no signs of things getting any better. So, yeah, frustrating for me that we're doing what we always do and dragging our heels with it and not being brave enough to go and make a decision. You sort of get it when people go, well, there's no obvious replacements. I always believe there's someone out there. Everyone else seems to find a manager when they need one, other than us. But there are managers out there now that seem quite obvious choices. So
yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. If he's going to stick to his usual Premier League experience, free, etc., like you said, there are a handful of managers just sat there waiting for the phone call, and you'd imagine most of them would jump at the chance of joining West Ham, especially at this point in the season where after Crystal Palace will be 5 games in. So I will say, even if we get beat by Palace, I don't think you've got to be a fantastic manager to come to this club and keep us up. I think you've just got to be a competent manager to come in and identify Jared Bowen as your best player and look at Somerville, Fulkrug, Paqueta and work out how to get the best out of them and how to get enough goals, how to fix a defence, how to sort your set pieces out a little bit and how to win points with West Ham. I don't think it's a difficult job. And I felt like that whenever we've changed manager to bring in another manager, and usually it's to bring in David Moyes after, in particular, Pellegrini, not so much after Bilic. I thought after Bilic, it was a difficult job, but after Pellegrini, I was very adamant. I don't think it takes you don't need to be a top manager to keep West Ham up. But then I thought you just had to be good because we had a good set of players and the players we had were better than those in and around us like Watford. And I think that's the case now. I think you look at our squad and compare it to, say, Leeds United or Burnley. Our squad, in my opinion, is far better than what they've got. You just need to be a decent manager and you should keep us up. Now, I'm not saying you'll get us into European football or nothing. No, I don't think that. But what I mean is just keep us 14th or 15th in the league. Always keep us 5, 6, 7 points away from the bottom three. So we stay up comfortably. I just think you need to be good. I don't think we need a world-class manager because at the minute, well, Potter's historically, statistically, the worst manager we've ever had at this point. And that's what from non-West Ham fans, a couple of them said to me, it's only 4 games. It's not, it's 26. Right? Like, I'd be prepared to write off last season if last season happened, then in pre-season you see changes, and then the new season starts and it's completely different to what you've seen last season. I'd say, okay, he is starting afresh. He is coming up with something, but it's not really. A lot of the problems what we're seeing now were here last season. And also when you spoke about, he had it good coming into the Spurs game. In terms of his player availability, now maybe Todibo was injured, but even if he was available, I don't think he would have selected Todibo. So I'm not letting him have that one. And I know Wan-Bissaka was sick, but he was on the bench anyway, so I'm not letting him have that one either. So as far as I'm concerned, he had a full squad to choose from on Saturday. All 26 players were available, bar Todibo maybe. And that was what he came up with. Now, I appreciate Fulkrug wasn't 100% and Wilson can't play the whole game. Well, here's the question then. Well, why not give them a half each or something? Why not? Like, what's the point of having them both on the bench if neither are capable of playing more than 45 minutes? That's just pointless. You got Callum Marshall there. Play him if you have to. If you're not going to play him, then why is he here? Put him out. You should have put him out on loan during the transfer window when you had the opportunity. What you can't do is just completely hinder his development. Say, oh yeah, you're part of the squad. And go, brilliant. You've got no striker for the weekend. Gaffer, am I playing? You've said he's not fit enough and he can't play 90 minutes yet. So does that mean I'm starting? Now you're not even in the squad, Callum. Oh, why not? I'm going to put my 2 senior strikers on the bench instead. Who's up front? Oh, the midfielder that played midweek against Bolivia and the opposition manager. I don't know this at this point, but I will learn this. He's not going to play his Brazilian striker, Richarlison, because he played for Brazil during the international break and he's too tired. So he's not going to play Richarlison. But I'm going to play Paqueta. And I thought Paqueta was blowing out his arse quite early on in that game. By the way, he looked tired. So it's just, I've heard some of the things he said. I've actually paid a bit of attention to his comments after this game more than I have any other game probably at West Ham, because I was intrigued to see what his evaluation of the match was. And I actually found myself agreeing with some of the things he said. He said, about how we did okay in the first half and we defended okay in the first half. Fair. I don't think they created much chances from open play up until the red card. I don't think Tottenham really created anything in open play. So I think he's, what he's saying, I think has some evidence to it. But the reality was, 5-10 minutes before halftime, I was praying for halftime. I thought we were clinging on for halftime. And if that whistle went, I thought, woof, we got in at 0-0. We got up there a little bit because Spurs were really starting to crank it up and start putting crosses in. And I thought Kilman and Mavpanos and Souček were defending that box well. But at halftime, it's like, we'll change something. And it's the fact he changed nothing. It completely changed nothing at all. And also, I think he actually made an error. When Spurs were on top in the first half, I think he made a mistake that contributed to that. He swapped Bowen and Paqueta for some reason. Bowen went up front for a bit and Paqueta came out to the right. And Spence was annihilating us down that left side. He just constantly, I thought he had a great game. He was just constantly going past whoever was playing on the left for Spurs, Xavi Simons. He was just constantly going past him, and there was no one going with him because Paqueta was just struggling to get back, and Bowen was now playing up front. I don't know why he switched those two round, but I thought it really hindered what we were doing. But it's what it is. Where do
the substitutions are wild, mate. The substitutions that the man does are absolutely crazy. I don't understand them. And like you said, if Callum Wilson can't get...
but he could go against Forest though. It's like you got them spot on. You know, Somerville come on, Wilson come on. But then...
how we end up with managers, Gio, that feel it's necessary to bring on players like Andy Irvine in the 90th minute. If I was Andy Irvine, he turned around to me and said, "Come on, mate, come on," I'd look at him and go, "Mate, leave me alone. Like, why do I want to come in on the 91st minute when we're 3-0 down? What are you trying to achieve by putting me on that football pitch in the 91st minute?
Unless you've got like a 10 grand appearance
well,
bonus.
We bought Callum Wilson on 3-0 down, and you just think we've got to pay him 100 grand. Like, why? Why do you feel that's necessary? Why? Like, Liverpool bring on this youngster, 16 years old. He scores the winner at St James's Park. Why he can't have a chat? Why he can't start Wilson? Say, go out there, give us 60 minutes, try and nick us a goal and get us in front in this game, and then put your arm around Callum Marshall and say, look, 60th minute, be ready, because between the 60th and 70th minute, you're coming on, and I want you to get at this lot, and I want you to show me what you're all about. And why you can't do that, I will never know. But we always end up with managers who don't have it in them to do it, Jared.
The Wilson sub annoyed me because even if you exclude the financial part of it, we were down to 10 men, 2 goals down. So what's the striker going to be receiving, regardless of who it is? They're going to be getting balls pumped at them from the defence because we're under the cosh. We're just going to be clearing it. We're going to be thumping into the channels. We're going to be belting at him. He's not going to have a teammate around him because we're defending now. So think about the profile of striker you want to bring on. It's the complete opposite to Callum. It's Callum Marshall. You want someone that's energetic, that's going to chase anything. You want someone like Michael Antonio from 5 years ago that's going to come on, win your free kicks, win your throw-ins, get your team up their pitch, just be a nuisance for the centre-backs. Wilson was not that type of player at all. He can't run around. He can't run the channel and stuff like that. So it was a complete wrong type of player to bring on. Anyway, so it just felt like a really stupid substitution. And, you know, I thought McGasser looked okay when he came on. I thought there was some nice touches from him. And I think Guilherme, bless him, I felt really sorry for him because he'd been waiting for his opportunity. And that wasn't an opportunity to come on and play in that team under those circumstances. That's not an opportunity. That's just taking Somerville off and protecting him, which I'm okay with, by the way, because he'd been out for 7 months. I think it's easy to forget that. He'd been out for 7 months. He's just come back. 2-0 down to 10 men. Game's over. It's done. So you go, I'll take Somerville off and protect him, and I'll put Guilherme on. I was okay with that sub. But then, like you said, in the 92nd minute, why not on the 80th minute, bring on Potts and Igor? Say to Igor, look, go out there, swap you for Kilman, see what you can do, get you a feel for the game. And Potts, here's a bit of an opportunity for you. It's not ideal, but you're going to go in there next to McGasser in midfield. But Souček suspended for next week. There's a shirt up for grabs now. You've got 10 minutes, see what you can do and try and grab it. You know, it's between you and McGasser. One of you are starting. Out you go, or at least one of you. I know people say, I'm going to make it, but I know, no James Ward-Prowse. But if this is the talk you give the player inside the pitch, like you said, you don't bring on Andy Irving for 3 minutes and take Ward-Prowse off. What's the point in that? Just baffling. Looking ahead to Crystal Palace then, Frankie. I mean, it's not getting any better for us, is it? Palace are the team with the most, albeit it stretches back to last season, but they've got the longest unbeaten run in the Premier League. 10 games unbeaten in the Premier League. And in that period, they've won the FA Cup and they've won the Community Shield against Liverpool as well. This is a side that is complete opposite to us. We look disjointed. We don't really know what we're doing, whereas Palace look organised. They know exactly what Glasner wants. Glasner knows exactly how to get the best out of his team, how to get the best out of his players. Can you see us getting anything? Or are we going to be the team that disrupts their unbeaten run?
I can never back West Ham to lose, Gio. My head says it's the wrong team at the wrong time. I think the way that they play does just literally exploits all of our weaknesses. I just can't see it going well at all. But as always, I have to say West Ham get something out of the game. But, Gio, this is how my optimism has declined so much. Can't remember the last time I didn't say I thought West Ham would win a game, but I think the best we can hope for is trying to nick a draw out of it.
I think it was the Nottingham Forest one, weirdly enough. I thought that was a game you're like, listen, normally I back us, but I can't because, we've just been pumped by Chelsea, pumped by Sunderland, got beat by Wolves reserves. So,
well, if there's a pattern there, Gio, I'm going to go right against us in this one and say we've got absolutely no chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the corners for me. It's if you're a manager worth their salt, you don't even need to be that. Even if you're a crap manager, you will know that West Ham are terrible at defending corners. You will know, and Palace take long throws as well quite often. Chris Richards will get down, he'll even cross the pitch and go down. He plays, right centre back. He'll go over to the left side of the pitch and take the long throw as well. So there's going to be a lot of long throws into our box. And I quite like Palace at corners anyway, and that's without considering us. So I'm really, honestly, Frankie, I was scared watching us defend corners against Tottenham. We only conceded one from a corner. Van der Ven's one came off the back of a corner as well. It was like the second phase of play, if you like. But, and I know people aren't a big fan of Souček, and I get it. You don't need to explain it to me. But I think even if you're not a big fan of Souček, I would like to think you would agree is that we have more chance of defending a corner with Souček in the box than we are without Souček in the box. And we're missing him at the weekend too. So I struggled to see us not conceding from another corner. Which I think Chris Richards is a big threat at corners, followed by Lacroix. Mark Gay, not as much. I mean, to be fair, he's got a bang against Villa from outside the box, but I prefer the other two aerially. So I think we're going to be under pressure in that Pino. Now, I didn't watch the Palace game. I only watched the highlights against Sunderland, but that Pino looked excellent. Unlucky not to. We could have scored a hat trick, to be honest with you. So I think you can probably guess what my prediction is going to be when we do the preview. It's going to be quite specific predictions as well. Anything else you'd like to add, Frankie, before we disappear?
No, nothing at all, mate.
Anyway, if you're still listening, apologies. It's not the most positive thing in the world, but we've only got one rule on this channel. Be honest. It's our only rule. And so if you're looking for someone to be upbeat and positive and be delighted that we're conceding 6 goals from corners and 8 goals from headers, you're not going to find that from me or Frankie, I'm afraid. But anyway, if you are still listening, thank you very much for sticking with us. Thank you for tuning in. Please do drop a like on the video. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. Myself and Frankie, hopefully, when we catch up with you next week, we'll be a bit more upbeat, celebrating a surprise win. And there's something West Ham about that. There's something about it. Like the old West Ham would win this game. We'd be the team that ruins their unbeaten run. We'd be the team that surprises people. And then we'll go lose the next 3 off the back of it or something. And Potter's going to need to do that. Potter's going to need to find something. Potter's going to need to come up with something that beats Crystal Palace, something that Arne Slot failed to do, something that Pep Guardiola failed to do, something that Unai Emery failed to do. He's going to have to do something that the better managers in the league haven't done. Yeah. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Catch you in a bit.